Welcome to the Healing My Parts podcast, a podcast dedicated to educating and raising awareness about dissociative identity disorder, also known as DID. We are your hosts, the system behind Healing My Parts, which also includes parts that function as a therapist and leader in a mental health niche space. We'll be sharing tips and tools that have helped us and many others, while also sharing insights from our own journey of living with the condition. We'll also be hosting guests for conversations to help educate, dispel myths, and most especially help those living with dissociative identities and professionals who treat the condition. Thank you so much for tuning in. And now, let's get healing. Well, welcome everyone. We're so excited that you're joining us today. And we are super excited to introduce you to a really good friend of ours, Sandy James, who is a psychologist in Australia. And I'm just going to toss this over to you and let you tell people what you would like them to know about you before we dive in. I'm so excited.
I'm really excited to actually be doing this as well. Intro myself. I am Sandy. I'm a psychologist doing my PhD researching treatment trauma or harm from eating disorder care. About to relocate halfway across this massive country, but that's fun. The primary population that I work with in my work is people that have been let down by our current systems of care. So people with really complex presentations, people that, treatment resistant in inverted commas or manipulative or all of those good words. And I like the reason that I do that is because that was me. So a population, I would not be here if someone hadn't done for me what I give for others now. Yes. And I do a lot of other things as well, but that's the primary thing.
That's so beautiful. And there's so many different reasons, right, where people present in the complex way that you're talking about. And every time I hear the words like treatment resistant, everything internally just kind of squeezes and closes shut because it's just so negative.
Mm-hmm. I have a lot of trouble keeping my mouth shut, so generally I speak up. But also, like, that word manipulative and attention seeking and what the hell, right? We're not doing that because we're getting our needs met. Like, pay attention and we might get somewhere. So, yeah, that's my favorite population. And I think because I'm a pain in the ass, and that's how. So I also want to work with people that are also pains in the ass, like me.
That's why we get along so well, right?
Yeah. That's why we get along so well, because you're definitely a pain in the ass.
100%. Oh my gosh. No, I feel like there are a lot of people that are listening right now hearing those words and thinking the same things that we're thinking, the negativity that gets attached to words like maladaptive, manipulative, treatment resistant. And a lot of times I feel like that is code for the clinician doesn't know what to do. And many times the clinician's not seeing the fact that somebody in front of them is the system.
Most of the time, yeah. And that also, like, being told, like, just that being disbelieved and, like going, I don't remember doing that. And then, like, people just going, of course you remember doing that. It's like,
Yep.
what the fuck?
And outright being accused of lying, right? When you literally don't remember.
And being discharged from care because I got discharged from treatment from hospital because I hurt myself, that I didn't know I'd hurt myself. But then when I discovered it, I tried to clean it up and I got caught trying to clean it up, and then they discharged me. I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
Like, really?
I was like, that's an oxymoron.
Yeah.
I mean, treatment for a reason. It's
Yeah.
Nobody can see the look on my face, but it's really challenging to, people are presenting in all these different complex ways because they need help and they need therapy and they need treatment, but then they're getting discharged or kicked out of care because they're not the perfect, quote, compliant
Hmm.
client?
Well,
Wait,
yeah,
it's when did treatment turn into something that we have to perform for?
it's always been like that.
Yeah, you're right. Mm, mhm. But I
And
think
like
yeah,
in
no, you're right.
but also like in or from experience watching, because I've never been a compliant anybody, but watching other people, some of my clients particularly that do perform when they're in treatment, as soon as they get out, that performance disappears and we regress right back to where we were before. And it's like, stop performing, like let people do shit so that you can work through it with them in the moment. So yeah.
That gets challenging too, right? When you're a system, because if you're really authentic, then you get discharged because nobody treats DID or OSDD.
Hmm. Yeah. Sorry, I can't work with that. Sorry, I can't work with that. Like,
Yeah.
and that idea that like there is one true self, like I will not talk to your parts. I'll only talk to your one true self. And it's like, good luck with that.
It's literally it's exactly the words I had in my own head. Good luck with
Yeah.
that.
What does
And it
that
says,
even mean?
ah,
Self is sometimes a duck and sometimes it's a monkey and
Doug. Oh, yeah, I struggle with this whole concept of singularity, right?
Mhm,
Or the insistence that parts
mhm.
speak through some single sense of self. It's fascinating in a not helpful way.
Yeah, yeah.
It's also actually a really good segue into this whole topic of loneliness, which sometimes leads into internal disconnection because just what we've been talking about, we're so alienated as systems when we go to try to get care from someone because we either don't fit the bill or our behavior is not what they were
Mhm.
looking for, or we can't fit whatever prototype they have in their own minds for what they want the insides of their treatment program or their outpatient practice to look like.
And some of us can't.
Yeah. Well, it's right. Parts of your system can, parts of your system can't. So for you, what does loneliness look like for you as a plural person, and how do you manage it even when internal connection feels hard? Or maybe especially when internal connection feels hard, because then you're really isolated.
Yeah, I was thinking a lot about this, and I struggle a lot with loneliness, whether I'm like internally or externally. Like it's a huge thing for me, and I think that comes from never being seen as a like I just felt like I never existed, or I might as well not have, right? But when I try and stay really aware that when that loneliness gets big, I need to be around people outside my head. Because inside my head, if it's just me and me and me and me and me, then we get confused and like that conflict escalates because there's nothing grounding us in the world. So like sometimes for me it's just really hard just to leave the house, and as soon as I do I'm okay. But it's like crossing that threshold and the danger that's out there versus the danger that's in here, and it's like I'm just going to stand in the doorway because that it feels better. But yeah, like being around people, sitting in a coffee shop and creating stories about what they're doing there, what kind of relationship they're having, blah blah blah, helps me remember that I'm actually like here and now, rather than like if I spend too much time with myself and myself, then we get lost in time and space, and that's never a good thing for me.
Question for you. So when you were talking about, it's so relatable, right? Like trying to get yourselves out the door. Like sometimes
Hmm.
it feels impossible to enter the world. And then you had mentioned when you do, then it's okay once you're there. But is that because another part has come forward and has taken over?
I think so. but I think for me, it's also a lot about that, just that awareness that I am in a real world, like that my feet are on the ground, and if I get in the car, then that I have to be able to drive the car most of the time, like, because if I'm driving a car, it's a good idea that I can operate the vehicle. So I just think, yeah, I think it helps me. It just reduces something inside, like the inside gets softer when the outside is louder, or when there's something taking my attention. And whether I'm playing on
Yeah.
swings, like, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. Like, I'll go fall off the surfboard, or I'll go, like, I line up with the kids to play on the swing set, or go down the slippery dip, or whatever. It just really helps. Whether I talk to anyone or not is irrelevant.
Oh, that's actually a really good point, that just being around people, it's so funny. So being around people can be helpful, and I know for other people, being
Mhm.
around people can even feel more isolating and lonely because they feel like their experience is so different from the people that they're surrounded by. Is that something that you experience as well? And if so, how do you navigate that?
Not not so much anymore. I used to. Like, I used to always feel like there was something wrong with me. I was broken. And one of the over time, like, I'm much, much older now and been doing this for a long time. So what I had to learn not to do is compare myself to other people. And part of what happens with that is, like, I'm gonna stand out, right? So I color my hair, I wear bright colored shoes, I be loud, because if I'm gonna feel like people are staring at me, then I'm gonna create a reason that they're rather than it just being in my head. Does that make sense? Like, if I've got really big feet, so I've got really bright shoes, and then I wear black and I have bright, bright, bright colored hair, people are gonna notice me. So that way I know they're noticing me, and I know that's real, rather than me getting paranoid about them noticing me.
Yeah. Well, in that scenario, you're a grounded reason for why people might be noticing you as
Mhm.
opposed to stories we can make up in our head, right? Like that
Yeah.
person is thinking something unsavory or bad about me versus like, oh, of
Yeah,
course
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
person's looking at me because my hair is flaming orange with
It
a
sounds good.
purple spot on top or whatever. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, 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 exactly. Or, like, they're noticing me because my tattoos are so spectacular, or, like, right now my hair is bright pinkish purple, and it it just lets, like, it reduces the noise from those other stories that I can make up otherwise. Like, they're looking at me because they know I'm what.
That's a
So
great workaround, though, that I think can be really helpful for a lot of people. Because 'cause I'm thinking of so many people that talk about being in the presence of others, and it's like this trap door internally opens, and they fall down this rabbit hole of despair because they're so worried about what other people are thinking about them, and if there
mhm,
is something that they can do, whether it's wearing a brightly colored jacket or a funky T-shirt or whatever it is, and they notice somebody looking at them, then you have that external reason of, "Oh, of course, it's because of this shirt, it's because of this jacket," which
yeah,
is much
yeah, yeah, yeah,
better, right?
yeah. It's easier for me personally. It's easier for my system to not freak out that people are, because otherwise, like, I tend to think, like, sometimes I'll be like, oh, they can see what I'm thinking, or they can, like, they know that I'm fucked up, or they know that whatever,
Yeah.
and I get really convinced of that.
That's like
They
the worst
don't.
feeling.
Yeah. Or when I'm in myself, I'm like, huh? But, like, yeah, it can be really convincing because you have, like, multiple parts going, like, yeah, like, they're
Yeah.
fucking looking at you because they know what you did, or, you know.
Where you've been or who you could, like, quote who it's that thing too where if
Mhm,
people really knew what happened,
mhm.
And that feels so terrible. And when those parts are really present, I think it is really hard to navigate in groups of people.
Yeah. And that's part of, like, if I'm, as like an example, yesterday I had my farewell party from leaving here, and God, I did not want to go. I did not want to go. And got in the shower, got dressed, and went and had a ball. And we played pool. And but I like, because the Australian football grand final was on, right? So it was hilarious. That part of what I do as well is I bring other people in. So like the table next door, I'm like, oh, who are you going for? Okay, we're going to go for the other team. So it creates this like banter that then also helps me to get outside of myself, where I'm not as invested as in what's going on in my head. I can actually just be there enjoying whatever. And that's taken a lot of work to get a lot of like coexisting and co-fronting and allowing space for those different things. And if there's a shy part and a not shy part, then it's like, okay, like I hear you, it's okay. I'm going to keep you safe, and I'm going to be loud anyway. So those kind of conversations, yeah.
You can navigate those internal conversations while you're going through the external motions,
Mhm. Yeah, weirdly, I don't know
which
how.
is
Don't
awesome.
ask
I
me
know.
how.
I think there's a lot of things that happen internally. I'm just sort of making that point for some folks that are listening, especially for clinicians that are newer to treating people who are plural, to understand some of the internal dynamics.
Well, sometimes I have to go out for, like, sometimes I'll go out for, I'll step outside for some fresh air, or I'll go to the bathroom and hide in there for a little while, or like I'll just like put water on my face or something, just to give that space to have that conversation and go, okay, it's going to be okay. They're not going to hurt us. We're just going to play, right? And we're going to play banter with these other grown-ups that are also here to watch this game, which I don't even really understand, right? Like, football, I don't care. So they go like, who are you going for? I'm like, well, who are you going for? Brisbane. Okay, so I'm going to go for the other team then, because that makes it more fun. Except that the team I chose
Why not?
lost, so that pissed me off. So at the 3/4 mark, I changed sides. I'm like, okay, yay, go Brisbane.
It's funny while you're talking about having a part that might be louder or just more of an extrovert, right, than some of the shyer parts that might want to hide. In my head, all I can see is you walking across the lobby of the hotel at the Meta conference, walking somebody else's dog. And I was like, whose fucking dog did you steal?
I don't even know
It
whose
was the
dog that
best.
was. Was that because I had a couple of dogs? I had a couple of dogs because I had someone's dog that
I
I knew. I took that dog to pee, but that dog, I have no idea whose dog that was.
It was
But we
such a
did
great
ask.
statement, though. Well, I believe I believe that. It's such a statement, though, about how social and extroverted parts of you can be, right? Where you could literally have no idea who that person was, and you got to know them well enough in the course of 3 minutes where they trusted you with their dog,
Yeah,
and it was
can I borrow
really
your dog? I
funny.
just want to take it and show it to my friends. Yeah,
It
but
was
then
really funny, though.
because sometimes that part's not present, and like
Yeah.
I'll go somewhere, and it will take time to help the shy part feel safe enough to allow the playful, loud part to come out to enjoy whatever activity it is, you know? Like, I'm learning to surf, right? Like, dude, I cannot for the life of me work out how to stand up on this stupid surfboard when it's not on the beach. But it took me like nearly 2 years to be able to convince us that we could practice on the sand, because that's that part that's going on. Everyone's looking at you. Like, everyone's judging you. Everyone's doing whatever. Everyone thinks you're an idiot. Like, you're a 56-year-old fucking old lady. What are you doing on a surfboard with everyone watching on the sand, you look like a fool, blah, 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 like all of those stories. And it took a much longer time to get to a point where it's still hard to do that. And I also can do that more often than not.
I was just imagining my own system in a scenario like that, and I can like literally envision there's a certain part that that would be so fun for that part, and
Mhm.
another part who no, like never ever will happen.
Yeah.
Which begs the question: what happens for you, or does it ever happen for you when you need that part who's able to do those things, and it
And they
just
don't
doesn't
come.
show up? No matter what, the whole asking, inviting, all of that is just futile.
Mhm. Generally that happens when I have to public speak, and that's really annoying. Like, and I haven't quite been able to figure that bit out yet, but I'm getting, we're getting better at it, but because I don't want that like that really loud extroverted part either. I want the middle ground if I'm presenting, right? And
Mhm.
I've never really had a middle ground, so it's more about me learning how to get those parts to work together rather than because I haven't got. I just don't think I've got a middle ground part. Like, so it's taking a while. Because I also remember speaking at a conference and someone asking me a question about something, and I'm just like, oh, you just say, oh fuck, I'm sorry that happened. Right in the middle of the conference. And then I was like, damn. But by then it was too late. So
I feel like being a system is there are always surprises.
it's not always fun, but a lot of the time it's fun. It's because sometimes also, you just watch yourself and you just go like, that's hilarious. Like I can entertain myself with it's just stories in my head or whatever. I often think about our stories about packing, and I don't know who has been present here recently, but I'm nearly packed and I don't leave for a
Oh, and what
week.
have you done with Sandy?
Oh, I know. I don't know. I don't know what's happened. It's weird. Like all my bookshelves are empty and my clothes are like 75% packed. And I don't know where anything is, but that's kind of irrelevant because everything's in boxes, which is great.
It'll be a fun scavenger hunt when you get to where you're going.
Hmm.
But for people who don't know you, they have no idea that several hours before you need to be on a plane to go across the ocean, multiple continents, you're just beginning to throw things in a suitcase. So you
Yeah,
being completely packed a week in advance is unheard of.
it's very much unheard of. And, like turning up to the United States with 7 hats and 4 pairs of shoes and no underwear or something like that is not unheard of. So,
I think that's not unheard of for a lot of systems, or you have half of the suitcase is stuffies and you're missing, like the suit jacket that you're planning on presenting in or something.
yeah. See, one of the things that, because Henry's somewhere. I can't find Henry, so Henry has to be in a box. Has to be like I'm a little bit panicked about the fact that I don't know where Henry is. Henry's my bunny, but there's also the part of me that's going like that part. Yeah, I need to find Henry. Like he needs to come in the car with us. Blah blah blah. And then the other part going like, if we open those fucking boxes, that's the end, right? Like it's okay. So doing that like it's okay. Like I don't even. There's another thing somewhere. I think it's upstairs. That's kind of a stand-in for now. So it's like like just with any kid when they lose their
Yeah.
stuff, it's like, I'm so sorry. Like Henry's safe. He's somewhere, and we'll find him as soon as the boxes arrive. Like that will be the
Yeah.
priority at the other end. So
That also speaks to some of the trust that you've built up within your system,
Mm.
because there are definitively other systems that don't have that level of communication slash awareness and ability to trust each other, where there are some parts that are so accustomed to being lied to or tricked, and they
Mhm.
won't let the system rest at all. So it speaks to the work you've done internally with parts of yourself so that you can actually settle that part a little bit.
Yeah, I can settle it enough, like, I can feel her, like, she's like a little rock in my gut, but I just have to make space for that and hold her, and it's like, "Dude, we just can't unpack all the boxes. I'm so sorry." So, yeah, it's okay, like, she's okay, we've done heaps and heaps of work to build up to get to where we are.
I think that's such a beautiful thing because there are people, especially folks that are newer with their diagnosis, and they're in that spot of, like, let me get rid of every single part. I don't want any of my parts. I hate them
Mhm.
because my life is so effing complicated. I think it's really helpful for people in that stage of healing and discovery to hear somebody else talk about their parts with love and compassion. It's really the only way we move forward, right? They can be a pain in
Yeah,
our ass sometimes, but when you get to that place where you realize, okay, I'm just a part also,
yeah,
and we're all
but,
equal in here.
it's like everyone, right? Like, there's, yeah, yeah, like, especially with the internal system, we have to find a way to navigate, right? Because
Yeah.
I don't want to go back to where we were before. So there's no, like, we have to navigate this together. And, it's like a relationship, like, sometimes the last person I want to see in the world, but it's not possible
Mm.
because we live in the same house, really. It's like, I'll go to a different room, like, I can't talk to you right now. I'm going to go sit under a tree, or I'm going to hide in my room,
I'm going
which
to
is
circle
cool.
back for a minute because we started to touch on something, and it's the concept of imposter syndrome,
Mhm.
right? Which I wonder, A, if you think it shows up uniquely for people who are plural, different than maybe somebody who's a singlet. And then in my head, I'm also wondering how I anticipate anybody who's plural would be able to answer that because they've never been singlet before. So I don't know what I mean by that question. But just, yeah, I'm curious about your experience with imposter syndrome and how that shows up for you in your system.
Yeah, to the question, from what I understand of other people, it's really similar. It's just more focused. So, like, as plural, there's multiple dialogues going. Like, what the fuck do you think you're doing? Right? Like, who are you to be? You're just a street kid. Why are you up here doing this? Like, you look stupid. Blah 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 blah. You don't know what you're talking about. It's just that constant, like, and all different levels of conversation and different feelings, and feeling terrified and excited and, like a street kid, and just going like, what am I? There's like 100 people looking at me. What the hell are you doing? But again, like, navigating that is it doesn't always work, but trying to find that place where it's like, okay, can we please just let's all work together for 20 minutes?
Yeah. I was thinking about years ago, I remember being in this space of really feeling so separate that the work parts really just felt like an act. And at times, really being concerned about, oh my God, if people find out who we really are, shit's going to go south quick. It's not going to be okay. And I remember the first time a therapist suggested that we were in some ways one and the same. And I couldn't understand it because at that point I was even more compartmentalized. They were so incredibly separate. I couldn't imagine what felt like really broken parts. that were in so much pain, actually being able to kind of hold hands with a part that looked all put together, which that's where my experience personally of imposter syndrome comes from, are these parts that feel so incredibly broken and carry so much pain, looking at the
Mhm.
parts that on paper look good anyway, or, or can do all of these things that are so functional, being like,
I think
it's
that kind
just
of
a
goes to the bio, right? Like that goes to the
yeah,
bio. It's like you want me what I depends.
yeah,
Yeah, that fear of being found out. And I think part of how I've navigated that, like with some caution, is I'm really open about my story. So no one's got anything really against me that they can find out. Like, but also I didn't do any public speaking or presenting for a very, very, very long time because I was like, I can't always form sentences. And like back then, being really afraid of like they're gonna lock me up again if they find out who I am.
yeah, which is scary, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like, although sometimes also it's like, "Oh, please just lock me up, you know? Like it's that like can't you just say, can't I just go back to rehab, please? Like I just need I know. Because there's also like when I think when you're in and out of institutions, there's parts that become like, oh, we're only okay if we're in here being watched all the time, right? And having to learn how to be okay. And I I'm not scared of being locked up again anymore because that I don't do anything that needs me to be locked up. But the other thing I was going to say, because I did write a note about this, so I didn't forget this bit. But like that self doubt and all of that stuff, I don't know how I navigate that, and it's part of like because people will often go like, "How do you hold space for so many like so many other
Yeah.
people's really hard stories?" I'm like, I, I don't know, like I don't know how that happens, but with the self doubt, I've worked out now after a long time that I can feel scared and I can do it anyway, and that what's going to
Yeah.
happen is going to happen. But that if I feel scared and I don't do it, then that's that's where I don't like that's the space I don't want to be in because I did that for a long time. Like, oh, I'm scared, I can't do it. Yeah. So I'll get up and speak, and then sometimes it works and sometimes not.
I think that can be the case for anybody,
Hmm.
truly. You had said people are surprised about, how can you hold space for all this pain and all these stories from other people? And I'm sitting here thinking, in some ways, I feel like plural clinicians in particular are extremely good at hearing some exceptionally difficult stories, partly because of what we've lived through ourselves,
Hmm.
and also because we're feeling things for somebody else, which is really different than having to feel stuff for what you have gone through in your own life and in your own body, which has necessitated the dissociation to begin with, right? Like we don't necessarily have to dissociate from somebody else's story. And that emotional labor is really hard, but I feel like when you're doing relational work and you're in there with your client and you're emotionally connected, that is really hard work. It's so healing and so worth it. But connecting for them with what they're going through with that empathy and compassion is very different than connecting with your own pain.
Yeah. One of the other factors I think is that ability to compartmentalize if you can harness that. So like
Yeah.
I can hear I can hear someone's really horrible pain and stories and whatever, and then at the end of the session, that goes in that client's container, and
Mhm.
then I just bring it out next time. So it's not like it doesn't kind of exist as much in between.
In some ways, the communication for whoever's in charge of the container is partially what, at least in my experience, has made life be a little more fluid. Being able to ask ahead of time if there's something coming up. Can the parts who are good at handling X, Y, or Z take over or be the ones that do this? Like it's coming up in 2 hours or it's coming up tomorrow or whatever it is. And being really shocked at how well that works when I remember to do it.
Yeah. And I think the calendar system for me, like I have different colors for different activities or different what different needs maybe. So for clients, I need these parts to come forward. For podcast,
Yeah.
I mostly need this other bit. And if I'm going surfing, then I need a couple of different parts, and they may or may not choose to show up. So sometimes the most unco part turns up.
So will you then look at a calendar that's color coded daily to help your parts organize what they need to do in a given day?
Mhm. Yeah, and I think like because I get up so early as well, so my day is like I always have the week. So and the colors, like I'm like, okay, so I only need to make sense on this day, right? So the packing has been color coded into a different color, and it's kind of in the background. So
Mm.
I can do that in between, if that makes sense. So it's like behind everything else.
Yeah.
So it's like constantly there at the moment. And then if that part, like at the moment, we've stalled a bit because we've got down to like the small packings. And for the moment, I can't figure out what to do, like how to do that, but it'll happen.
The color coding's really cool. I could see where that would help a lot of people.
Mm. Google Calendar has a limited amount of colors, which is annoying. So,
You need
um,
more than one calendar, right? More than one
yeah.
Google account.
So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think it's got 10 colors. So generally it's okay. Yeah.
You
But
could
then,
divide your Google calendars right into like littles, middles, and bigs.
yeah, well,
Then you'd
that's
have
kind of
30 colors.
pretty much what's happened.
I could see where that would work. I have parts that would not cooperate with that. So I'm the queen of alarms and reminders popping up that
Oh,
I have to
yeah.
remember to put in place.
That's
Because
what the
yeah.
calendars do as well. Like I always have like if it's something important that I need to actually prepare for, like the calendar alarm went off 2 hours before this. So I had like 2 hours and then it went off at 1 hour. It's like, okay. And then it was 15 minutes, 10 minutes, and then I was here. So I have like
Do the
just
same
these,
thing.
yeah. But when I look at the calendar, because it's also on my phone, right? So it'll come up and the colors are. So if I'm working
Yeah.
in, like even generally, like different, if I'm working for one organization that has a different client population, that's a different color to like my private practice. So because they're different presentation of people that I'm working with.
No, that makes sense. Then you would need different parts forward that would be able to manage the different presentations of people. So that makes total sense.
Mm. Yeah, I tried a whiteboard, but the whiteboard's still white. I can't.
It's still white.
Mm.
Well, I mean, I've found over time different things work at different times. I can start on one system that works well for whichever parts are primarily forward for a period of time, and then it doesn't get used and stuff starts slipping through the cracks because it's somebody else, that's kind of managing more often during the day. But my system functions in groups though, so I have like a group,
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
groups do different things or they're responsible for different things, which I think is not confusing when you're a system, but it seems to be confusing to explain that to people who are not.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I think I used to, when I started working for a new company or like in readiness for the move, and I started forgetting, like, because it doesn't sync across or back, it doesn't sync one way. So I was like double booking myself all over the place. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how can I fix this to make it be okay? So now I have to check 2 calendars every single time. But that is, for now, that's working really quite well.
That makes sense. I mean, I think the iPhone can be really helpful because you can load and color code multiple calendars,
Mm,
and
yeah.
you can look at each calendar separately, or you can have them all kind of superimposed on each other. And it is a little helpful, I think, for planning later in the day if you remember to look at the calendar. There's that problem
Yeah,
sometimes.
that's where the beeping comes in and the different, although my phone's always on silent. I have different sounds, but if it's something super, super important, then I set an alarm because that overrides the silencing of the phone. So there's like lots of little bits. But I'm working with a client that can't do the calendar that way. So the way they do the calendar is they put the activity and the time. And it's just all like dip, 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 dip,
Okay.
right? So
So in a
uh,
list.
yeah, in the calendar. I cannot figure, like, for the life of me, I cannot figure that one out, but it works for them.
I would be late for everything, I think. I guess though, if your parts were sort of responsible for certain activities or that you had different parts that liked different things, they might be hyper focused on the thing that they like. So the activity might get their attention. So they'll be the one that's responsible for making sure you get there on time, as opposed to my system that's like, just tell me what I'm supposed to be doing at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, my system cannot comprehend how, because how, like, I need alarms. I need my phone to go, dip, 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 be here, dip, 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 be there in an hour,
Mhm.
2 hours. Like tomorrow, you've got this
Mhm.
thing. For that, for that person, they've just got, like, they don't, because some of the things will just be all day, right? And I'm like,
Yep.
how do you know when you're meant to beware if your phone's not telling you to get dressed?
I wonder then if they have, I mean, I hesitate to say this because I don't know the answer to it, but I wonder then if their internal communication might be a little bit more fluid. I mean, you've heard me say if somebody steals my phone, I'm in
Oh,
so much trouble. Like, I
yeah.
will not be able to function. I have so many workarounds for my system, but
Mhm,
it works, right? Like nobody can look at what I do and say it doesn't work. But
mhm.
I've had people, like I've had old therapists, for example, criticize the strategies that I have, but
Yeah.
they work. So why do we care?
Yeah, like, who are you to judge what works for me? Like, and I'm kinda like that with this client. I'm like, "Awesome, you found something that works for you."
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not gonna go, "No, you can't use that. You have to use my
Right.
system," right? Like, my system works for me, and I th I I ordered a new a watch because I don't have a clock for my arm, so I got an Apple Watch, so now I've got, like, the whole kit and caboodle of shit, but that will mean that there's another layer of, like, it'll vibrate on my wrist or whatever it does,
Mhm.
but I had to ring up the Apple shop and make sure I'd actually ordered it because I couldn't remember if I ordered it, and I couldn't find the email, and I'm like, "Oh, did I? Did I?" Well, I think it's coming. Yeah, I haven't had a, which is weird, but I haven't worn a watch. I can't remember. Oh, I remember because the ocean. I donated my last watch to the ocean by mistake, and I had another one since. Yeah,
I'm sure there's a dolphin out there somewhere that is grateful that it can now tell time.
I think it's the ocean god Poseidon needed a new watch. Yeah, so
I'm thinking about this isn't a circle back, it's just a statement about the imposter syndrome. I think sometimes when you get to a place where you, like you had said, where you can just be open about what's happening,
yeah,
I would say the vast majority of my story nobody knows about, but the fact that people now know that I'm plural has made the imposter syndrome 1,000 times better because it's like, yeah, there are work parts that do those things and that's valid. And there
hmm
are these other parts that do other things that's also valid, which is different than having to feel like you have to be in this one box all of the time.
yeah. One of the things that I do struggle with because my partner does not know, so a lot of she does not engage with any, like, if I'm on a podcast or anything, she will not listen to it, and that was never actually discussed. I think she just doesn't want to know, or so I don't know, but I'm good with it. Like I might, but then like also with my family, right? So like I won't be probably sharing this podcast episode on my social media because I don't, my family
Mhm.
will not understand, and they already, like have worked really hard to build a relationship with my family of some sort, and I just don't want that to impact the relationship that we've worked really hard to build,
Mhm.
because my mum spent so long blaming herself for everything that went wrong. And like, yeah, partly valid, but also not, like that kind of thing.
Yep.
So, yeah. So that
I think
kind of,
that's something that's going to be different for everyone, right? You have to navigate through in ways that you're most comfortable with.
mm. And also being aware of like, my mum is uneducated really, and doesn't, just doesn't understand
Yeah.
things. Yeah. So trying to get her to understand this would be like, fuck, no, I just can't want to.
But I think too, not everybody needs every piece of information about us,
Mm-mm.
right? And it's in different places, we prioritize different things. And for people who are not going to be able to understand or be supportive, or it's not going to be helpful or it's harmful to the relationship, sometimes silence is the better route to go.
Yeah, 100%. We want things to be as easy as possible, right? Like I don't, and I like it, just my experience says that if I add this in, then it's going to make things harder because there's a lot of me that's not understood already, and it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
So it's just like, whatever.
Yeah, the cost benefit analysis is actually a fairly decent one to go through, right? Does this cost me more? And
Mhm.
is it worth it because there's enough to manage already? It must be, I don't, this is a mixed bag. So part of me wants to say it must be really hard to live with a partner who has no idea that you're plural.
Mhm.
And then on the other hand, I also think, and there are partners that know that people are plural and they don't really understand, and so can be really adversarial with certain parts. So like it's a mixed bag sometimes.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes, but I think like I just go with like I'm just weird, right? Is like generally the word that I've just reclaimed that as like, yeah, I'm just weird. So like I make I'll make Jen a cup of tea every morning, right? And sometimes I'll go back to get the cup, but then I'll go back to get the cup 3 or 4 times because I forget that I've got the cup already. And like sometimes we'll go in there and it'll be coffee, not tea, or it'll have too much sugar, or it'll have no tea bag or whatever. And I think because that's normal, it's it's not questioned anymore, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I
Mhm.
just like I'll go in there to get the cup to make the second cup of tea, and then she'll go, "You already got the cup," and I'm like, "Oh, damn!" Just walk out. The cup of tea's already
Just
made.
checking.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, and sometimes when you hit this stage of life, you can just blame it on chronology, right?
100%. Yeah, I don't like. I love that. I'm like, oh, like when I with people, yeah, I'm an old lady. Like you have to lower your expectations, dude. Like seriously. But it's
But
also that thing about like the packing, like I think the part that has been able to pack is the part that doesn't want, because there would be a lot of nagging, for want of a better word, because this is like the sixth or seventh time that we've moved long distance. And generally, like, I've never done this before. And I think that's also part of that chronology, right? Like, we're maybe growing up a little bit and able to recognize that my life is going to be easier if I just do these things that make the other half happier without like
yeah.
not people pleasing, but it's just like that, like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how to explain that properly, but you know what I
Keeping
mean.
life smooth. Well, it sort of begs the question of, what advice would you give to somebody else who might be maybe they've just discovered their plural and they don't feel comfortable or safe letting their partner know. What advice would you give them to navigate that silence?
Yeah, I think the key thing for me was just claiming some of those behaviors or the oddnesses or whatever, and because they've always been there, so it's not like the identification of DID generally will escalate the parts for a period of time. And I think to navigate that, it's just like,
As in like permission?
yeah, and like the denial increases, but also they get a lot
Yeah.
louder because finally they're recognized and seen. So that can cause a
Yeah.
lot more chaos. So that can interfere with relationships a lot. But I think, like, for me, I've always known, so I've always been weird. So it's been easier to just stay weird. And I think for people that are newer to a diagnosis, it gets more challenging because some of those behaviors become more obvious and more explicit.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think navigating that would be is really just finding a way that your partner or the other person can just let it go, rather than that need for them to understand why things are happening. You can just go like, "Oh man, my brain must have switched off that day," or like just some kind of statement that just kind of flicks it away, and then
Yeah.
yeah. Because I think a lot of the time it's like, why are you doing this? It's like, oh God, I don't know. Sorry, didn't mean to, you know.
Hmm.
And then the conversation is like done. It's just like, oh man, I didn't mean to do that. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. When I think about partnerships or being in a relationship and being plural, I can't help but think back to an early episode in this podcast series with the Gianu system and their
Mhm.
hubs, which are like literal goals in relationships. Their husband is so incredibly loving and curious and has formed relationships with all of their parts that you listen to it as somebody who's plural and you're like, okay, can you potentially teach all partners? Can you create a graduate level course and teach all partners how to navigate relationships the way that you do? Because it's really beautiful.
Can I just come and join? Like, I'm happy with the three of us. It
Right.
would be fine.
I'll just move in.
Yeah. We need a bigger house, but we're all coming.
I mean, he has incredible capacity just from, sort of an emotional IQ and being able to just feel his way through different parts in their system in ways that I think do not come naturally to many other people. And
No,
if
I think that would be pretty rare. Like, because
yeah,
there is no way that that would ever happen here. And also, like, if he did a training for partners, there'd be no way that mine would attend. That's, you
right.
know, yeah.
Yep. I'm laughing. I'm like, I don't know if mine would or not. At home, I have some pretty overt parts that have relationships with him, and they can be really funny. He can also antagonize the shit out of a certain younger teen part
Yeah.
that is sometimes I'm just like, can you not, please?
Mhm.
Like, leave her alone. It comes from a place of not understanding. And I think for people listening, that surprises people sometimes, right? Because I do think we get, and by we, I mean you and me, can get lumped into the whole like, but you guys are therapists. Like, how come your partners don't know? And it's like, well, because we're also navigating life and
Mhm.
complex systems. And it's not always easy, I think, to explain those dynamics when you're the person who is attached to the history that all
Mhm.
of these parts have born out of, right?
Yeah, and like I think about like if I was to tell my partner, it could explain a lot of things that have happened in the past that I know
Mm.
have caused a lot of hurt. And I also know that the way, like I've known her long enough, her brain is not going to make any sense of that. So it's easier just to blame me and for me to just go, I fucked up. I'm really, really sorry. And I'll try really hard not to do that again, or at least not get caught doing it again, like however that works.
When you said not get caught, yeah.
Yeah,
Ugh,
it's
that's
generally,
so hard though. It's so
but
hard
it
because then
is
you've got to
hard.
have parts in there that are just like, oh, but this doesn't feel fair to me, right? Meaning to you.
Yeah.
And I
But then,
understand it at the same time.
and the alternative is like we leave, and that, no, like that's not even something that any part of me can comprehend at the moment, because whether it's intimate or not, there's
Mhm.
things that there's a reason that we function well together and have functioned well together for like what, 30 something years on and off, and we're getting older, like I don't.
That does change things, I think,
Mm,
when your
bothered,
relationship ages. Well, thinking about other types of relationships, like friendships, for example, which are
mhm,
different. So there are plenty of friendships that I know we both have, right? Where people that are in our lives don't actually know that we're a
mhm,
system. And we also have relationships where people in our lives do know that
mhm.
we're both systems. What about this whole fact that almost all of us go through periods of disconnect? And I'm not necessarily talking about internal disconnect. I am talking about the disconnect from the external relationships and friendships in the world, where we literally just drop off the planet for a lot of
Yeah.
different reasons that people may never understand, right? Like a part, I hate saying this because it sounds so awful to people who mean the world to us, but we do have parts that don't know you exist.
Mhm, yeah. And when you can't, like, if you go somewhere and someone's like, "Oh, hi, Sandy, how are you? I haven't seen you for ages." And we're like,
Mhm.
"Good, like, it's really good to see you." No clue
Whoever you are.
whatsoever. Yeah. Wherever you came from. I think, like, that
Mhm.
disconnect, I think it's necessary sometimes, is just to be able to disappear and, like, just close everything out for a while. For me, I can't
Mhm.
do that for very long, because then I end up in a really, really deep hole that, mm, is harder to get out of. So if I and that's part of the relationship as well for me, right? Like, because if I fall in a hole, I know that there's someone to pull me out in whatever way that
Yeah.
happens at the time. And like that thing about like forgetting to reply to someone. Like if I get a text from someone, I cannot open it until I can reply. Because if I open it, it's gone forever. There's never going to be a reply. So yeah, that feeling of
Oh,
disconnect.
that happens plenty. Text can be rough
They can, at least WhatsApp,
for
you can
sure.
mark it unread again, so it comes back up again. Emails, you can snooze.
I Oh, that the remind function in emails can be really helpful, but I feel like if you don't have cooperation among some parts when it comes to things like text messaging,
Mm,
or one part's really interested in responding to this and figuring out whatever the thing is to figure out, and then that part's not around for another day or so,
yeah.
and people are unhappy that they haven't gotten a response.
Yeah, I think that's another thing, is like setting that up where I go like, I will reply. I just may not reply straight away. And if you don't hear from me within whatever time frame, please poke me, because I will have forgotten about you or whatever. Snooze in email is the absolute bomb of an invention. I love it. So like if I get up and there's an email and I'm like, what? I'll snooze it till tomorrow, and then tomorrow, and sometimes I'll miss deadlines by doing that, but whatever.
It's so easy for emails to get buried when you get a lot of them.
Mm, yeah, that's where the snooze
Yeah.
thing comes in. Because if you put a flag on it, the flags are stupid. But the snooze, because then they come back up to the top of the list. Yeah, the snooze thing is it
You have to go looking for flags. That means you have to remember that the flag exists in the first place, and not everybody knows that.
100%. No,
Yeah.
no. I tried flags and I don't like. I'm like,
Yeah, they're not that helpful, honestly.
and folders are not helpful either.
Some systems will talk about they have parts in their system that are friends with some people, but other parts in their system don't like the same
hmm
people.
hmm
And like, how do you navigate that? Short of occasionally ghosting those people when the parts that don't like them are out.
It's a funny conversation I had with someone yesterday. Was like my friend at the gathering said, "Which is the one that you hate and you didn't want to invite?" And I'm like, "What?"
That's so funny.
So I still am not sure who that was. Anyway, so that happens. So I think it might have been someone from my previous work that I invited, just because there's a part of me that's a bitch and likes to play games.
Well, that's so funny. That's funny. This is one of those conversations where I sometimes I worry about people listening who are not plural, and then they start getting worried, right? About, wait, what parts of your system don't like me, kind of thing, and what can I do to help that? And I feel like I can't remember where she said it, but I know somewhere Adrienne Fletcher has talked about that, where she's very, or used to be anyway, very open about like, yeah, I have parts that like you, I have parts that hate you, and it just is what it is. If you're going to be in my life, that's just the way that it is. She's very open about that. And I think it can be really hard for systems to navigate it, because there is a part where many of us are accustomed to fawning for survival purposes.
Mhm.
Also, most of us don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, right? There generally are not parts that are wanting to hurt anyone in any capacity. And the reality is, there are parts that just are not in love with every single relationship that we have
But
in our lives. And it can be really hard to navigate it.
but even like you think about that internally as well. Like there's parts that don't like other parts, and it's like, okay, dude, we'll just keep you apart as much as possible. And I just the way I navigate that is like, not everyone likes me generally, because for whatever reason, and I don't care. But I will tell people, like, don't take it personally. And if I ever meet anyone, I'm like, I am never going to remember your name, right? So I give people the heads up. So it's like there's no expectation that next time I see them, I'm going to know who they are, and then it gives me permission to ask who they are again. Kind of, if that makes sense.
That's brilliant. It does. That's really brilliant. One question that I know will be burning in many people's minds is, as somebody who's been through a lot of different things, I'm going to ask this like there's an easy answer, and I know there's not. How did you get to a place of, I'm trying to think of the word that I want to use because none of them fit, but sort of like a place of emotional harmony amongst parts? We know that not every part likes each other, but you've figured out a way to be able to live together and live in a world that for the most part works, as compared to history for both of us, right? Like
Mhm.
his now looks very different than 30 years ago, for example.
Somehow, I don't know if how many people this answer is going to actually help, but I think about being in like drug and alcohol treatment
Mhm.
and all the different personalities in there, and there's the staff and there's the gardener or whatever, and then like I was in this treatment, this rehab that was just women. Don't do that. But next door was a halfway house for men. So they were coming out of prison, so it was a different halfway house, kind of, but not really. But anyway, we weren't allowed to talk to them, and of course that happened. Not, but I just remember thinking about like how did I navigate that? And yeah, there's a bit of fawning, and there's a bit of like there's a lot of masking sometimes, and that's okay as well. It's okay to
Yeah.
like we don't have to, because I know like some people will come and go like, I want to take my mask off. I'm like, it's not safe to do that. Like we need to be okay with
Mhm.
masking in certain situations. And like I one of the first things that I remember you saying that's really stuck in my head from years ago is adaptive dissociation. And I think
I mean,
I love it because that's what I think about, I think like I don't the thing that pissed me off the most about being in that treatment, like the men's bathroom, you could hear them. So like there was part of me that was really direct. There still is, but that part went and knocked on the door and said, "Can you not make that sound in the mornings? Because it's fucking horrible. Like, stop it." And then I got in trouble for doing that. But like, how do you navigate workplaces where not everyone has to get along to a certain
mhm.
extent? You have to at least be able to communicate effectively. You have to have like, sometimes we have to do workshops on listening or acceptance or like how do you not punch someone in the face that you don't like? Or for me it's like when I'm in the shopping, I want to run over everyone with the trolley. It's an urge. I don't have to go through with it. you know but I also don't have to get rid of it. It's okay. Yeah, I just want to run over the people that are in my way because shopping centers are not my favorite place. you know and that
It's
that
fair.
like it makes me laugh a lot when I have that thought. I'm like, yeah, that would be fabulous. I kind of play with it a bit and I'll imagine doing it, but I also know that I have that off switch where I'm not actually going to do it
Yeah.
yet.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
But if I'm also feeling really
And
really triggered, I'll get someone on the phone. Like I'll just put my headphones in and I'll walk around. Sometimes I just put my headphones in and talk to myself. But because I've got headphones in, other people think I'm talking to someone else. So it's like it's just a really good cover.
that's so brilliant, though. Legitimately brilliant.
I've given that tip to a few people. They're like, oh, people are going to think I'm nuts if I'm talking to myself. I'm like, put your headphones on. They'll think you're on the phone.
It's so funny because if nobody's around, talking out loud to ourselves is such a normal everyday thing,
Mhm.
but that's a perfect idea. What would you say, as we're kinda, like, wrapping up, what would you say to somebody who's a system, who just feels like they're too much, they're too broken, they're not really feeling hopeful at all about their future because they've been that person slash system who's just been in so much pain or so much darkness for so long? Whether it doesn't matter what it comes to, whether that's in relation to relationships or to healing or to community or orientation to the future. Like, what would you say to them?
I would say no one is broken, right? No one is broken.
Yeah.
We are incredible because like if you're still breathing, then there's always hope. And if you can't hold hope, then find someone who can hold hope for you and help you navigate. But be really selective about who that person is. And you don't need a whole, something like you don't need 10 people. You really just need one person that can hold
Love that.
space and hold hope and send you duck memes and stupid shit. And, someone who can make you laugh sometimes and someone who's not going to judge when you're in a hole, but is just going to sit with you in the hole for a bit and then go, okay, it's time we built some steps and got the fuck out of here. You know?
Yeah. Been down here long enough.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
it's getting cold, man. Got to go up and get my jumper. Need you to come with me. but it also, like, whether it's a professional, whether it's a peer support, whether it's like just on Instagram, is like Instagram saved my ass.
Yeah.
During COVID, I am 100% convinced that I would not have made it through had there not been all that Instagram stuff and the development of like the just drop-in groups and all that kind of stuff. Like, man, there is no way I would have
Yeah.
survived that.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. Social media can get such a bad rap, right? But
Mhm.
when I think about how, especially in the eating disorder professional community, how everybody came together to just really step up and provide services, and how everyone in the community itself stepped up to support each other
Mhm.
round the clock, 7 days a week.
Yeah, saved my ass, saved my ass. Yeah.
I feel like that continues in the DID community too, maybe not in lives like we were doing back in COVID for like eating disorder COVID-19. What was it? COVID-19 eating disorder support. I forget what it was called. It was a good account.
There was COVID-19 meal support
Something
or
like that.
something.
No,
But
I
that,
remember
like,
Ruth
that's
and I were
where
on like Tuesday mornings.
yeah,
Like,
and that was where I first met you, and it was where I
yeah,
first met a couple of people that I'm now really close to here, and like I was a mess, and when I think about that, like that was only 5 years ago, and fuck, it's been a journey to get back up on my feet, and it's not been smooth by any stretch of the imagination, but
is it ever?
no,
I'm thinking
the,
for people listening, sometimes I think people do think that, oh, you just plug in X, Y, and Z and then you're back on track. And it doesn't, that's not what it looks like.
yeah, and I also think like that thing about like, oh, I want to get back to who I was before, right? I don't want to, like, if I think about, because COVID was really pivotal for me, particularly with what happened. And I thought I was healed from a lot of stuff, and I was.
Mhm.
And then I discovered there was more healing to be done. And
Yeah.
being able to go, okay, like I don't want to go back to what I was. I don't want to rediscover who I was. I want to discover who I am now, and I want to move into what I'm becoming. I just don't want to go back. Like, yeah, I loved who I was before, but I like this version of me even more. So, like
Yeah.
some of that language as well, I struggle with, like rediscovering, or like, no, let's just discover.
I love that. Many years ago, there was she still exists. She's still on the planet. There's a trauma therapist up in Portland, Maine, who would talk about when things get difficult again, whether it's a cyclical thing or whether it's just, shit goes south like it does sometimes in life. She would talk about shifting her perspective, and rather than having the whole, oh, not this again,
Hmm.
like,
Yeah,
oh shit kind of thing, like not that, but instead, I wonder what treasures I'm going to find.
yeah.
And maybe somehow this is happening for me instead of to me. And so then again, what treasures will I find? And it was
I
interesting because she didn't use the language of like, what am I going to get back? It wasn't that. It was, what am I going to find?
hmm Yeah, that's kind of the way I think about it. Like I started having nightmares again, and I was like, oh shit, what is going on? Like, why are these back? Blah blah blah. And I messaged a therapist that I had for like 4 years who knew me, and she just replied with like, this happens every time you're in a big transition. You're moving across the country, of course. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. Like, that makes sense. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden it's like nothing's changed, but there's a, like, it's not, because I got really scared of
Yeah.
and then I'm like, oh, okay. That just is what happens when when this happens or whatever.
I think it's worth normalizing that whole level of fear that comes up. Like once your life has literally been shattered,
Hmm.
right? When you've lost literally everything,
Hmm.
it's very difficult to not be afraid that that can happen again.
Yeah. And it's also okay to be afraid that it can happen again. And that's where
Mhm.
having that support person that can go, yeah, dude, like this happens every time you do this. It's nothing
Yeah.
to worry about, Doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's just part of your process. And I was like, yeah. So now I'm like, oh, cool. But can I please have some sleep? Because I'm not tired.
Right. Can this be part of my process and I get 8 hours of sleep?
Yeah.
Whatever 8 hours of sleep actually is. Do people get that? Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know if people that sleep well.
When I'm good, I sleep really well. Like I will sleep from 7 p.m. till 4 a.m. So however many hours that is. I
I'm a
usually
social
wake
worker.
up
I can't do math.
like I'm a general psychologist. I can't do maths either, especially when it crosses
It's
at 12. I wake up
right.
once and change where I'm sleeping. So I will sleep on the sofa or in the spare bed. But outside of that, it's good.
God, that sounds like a
Funny.
lovely amount of sleep.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. This has been lovely. Thank you
For
so much.
yeah, it's been really good.
A huge thank you to Sandy for being here and for sharing the parts of system life that honestly are often just held in silence, whether it's loneliness to survival, relationships, imposter syndrome. It honestly was really nice just to be reminded that those hard spaces doesn't mean hopelessness. And healing is not about perfection, and that even if we disappear for a little while, it doesn't mean that we are gone for good. So, whether you are a system, a supporter, or provider, we hope that you found something valuable in today's conversation. And if you did, please share it with someone else who might need to hear it. And please subscribe to our Substack so you never miss an episode or an article. And give us a follow on Instagram and perhaps check out our website at healingmyparts.org for other services, groups, and merch. Thanks so much for joining us. And until next time, let's keep healing. Thank you for tuning in. You can find our blog on Substack at healingmyparts.substack.com and on Instagram at healingmyparts. Just a disclaimer, any information shared in this podcast is not a substitute for professional therapy or behavioral health care. Nor does listening to the podcast constitute a therapist-client relationship. Please be sure to take extra good care of you. And until next time, keep healing and thriving.